Hi, everybody. Welcome to this month's episode of the Work with Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Randy Mahoney Jr., and I'm so glad that you are with us on this month's episode. If you are new to our podcast, I want to remind you that we are a seasonal career podcast, and we run a podcast season usually from January all the way till the end of June each year. And the reason in our podcast seasons, the reason our show exists is that we want to help you as an adult working in your any part of your career journey. We want to help you go from career confused to becoming more of a purposeful person. What we mean by becoming more of a purposeful person is really trying to help you again, take more action on the things that we talk about in our episodes and things like that. Really trying to help you take more of an intentional, purposeful approach to the work aspect of your life. So the way that we do that is that in each of our episodes, we try to keep them to about 20 to 30 minutes, maybe a little bit longer than that. But we really try to give you advice, education, and encouragement to help you, again, become more of a purposeful person in your career. So if you are watching this episode, if you're checking us out on our podcast for the first time, number one, welcome. I'm glad you're here. And then number two, I encourage you, as you listen to this episode, or if you check out some of our other episodes, as you take action on the things that we talk about, you are becoming a purposeful person. So I'm glad that you're with us on this month's episode. So this month's episode, we are starting to talk about our topic of that there is good in your get by job. That there's good in your get by job. So as we talk through that, I wanted to start with what is a get by job and give you a couple quick examples of that. So what is a get by job? Now, if you've not heard of a get by job, the way that I would kind of define it for you is that it's a job that really provides you more stability during a crisis situation. It's a type of position that you may have during some type of transition season. Or it is more of a job that I would encourage you to, it's more of a job by Friday kind of idea. That's something that I like to talk about if somebody is, looking for more of an entry level kind of position, maybe a type of job like this. Job by Friday basically means that in your more of a get by job kind of job search, you might try to target more entry level types of employers. I'll give you a couple examples later on of some of my own get by jobs and what I thought that they taught me or what I learned from those. But entry level employers for your get by job, those are things like food service, food delivery, pizza delivery, drive, ride sharing apps and different things like that. So get by job is very unique on its own. And really what I want to encourage you is that if you've not heard of that term get by job before, really try to focus on is that the focus of a get by job, it's really stability, having that, stability of income, work schedule, things like that during a transition or during an urgent kind of crisis situation. And that makes it pretty different than more of an ideal, more career type of position. Okay, so that's a little bit about what a get by job is, but I want to, contrast that with what is more the traditional career type of job here. And you can kind of see that on my slides here if you're watching the video version of our show. So we just got done talking about what is a get by job, and now we're kind of comparing that to more of the, ideal career kind of position. And I just was telling you that if a get by job is more of a focus on trying to give you stability during more of a transition type of time in your life, I would tell you that more of that ideal career kind of job is, it's more aligned with your unique skills, your abilities, your strengths, things that you know about you. And really the focus of your ideal, more career kind of position is you're really trying to help and serve someone else intentionally in the work that you do. So you're resisting the idea in your ideal kind of more career type of job is that you really have a focus on trying to serve and help someone else with your unique skills, your unique abilities. And you're really trying to resist the idea of just a you-focused mindset. So recently, this year in 2024, I did a podcast episode more about trying to help you think about, your skills and your abilities. And I talked about that your mindset matters in that. And so if you look in the description below this video, I'll put a link for that podcast episode. If you're kind of new to this whole career development kind of thing, if you're not sure how to think about, the work aspect of your life, or how to think about, why would you want to serve and help someone else in the work that you do, or why would you want to think about it that way? Look in the show notes below this video. I'll put in a link to that podcast episode so that you can check that out and really kind of get some more help and some encouragement on how to be thinking about the work aspect of your life, and how to think about your skills, how to think about your abilities. All right, so we just did a quick comparison of, what is a get-by job versus, what is kind of more of that ideal career kind of position. And so now that we did that, I want to take a quick break and kind of walk you through a couple things that we've got coming up for our podcast. So let me get my slides going up here. So again, in this month's episode, we've been talking so far about saying that there is good in your get-by job, and we were just walking you through more about comparing a get-by job with a more traditional, ideal career kind of job, talking about some of their differences. But as we go along in this episode, I want to invite you that if you are finding this information helpful, I would love it if you would consider thinking to join our free newsletter. The easiest way for you to do that is you can visit our website, WWPcast.com/newsletter. That can really help you stay up to date with everything that we are doing with our podcast. But in addition to that, that kind of gives you an avenue to really be the first to learn about, new career training products that we're working on. I've got some later in this year, I'm working on some more digital career training products, some things like that. So you definitely don't want to miss that. So again, you can join our newsletter. Easiest way to do that, visit our website, WWPCast.com/newsletter. And then also, I want to encourage you, if you've been with our podcast for quite some time, or if you're relatively new, I do want to encourage you, if you're finding this information encouraging, practical, helpful, meeting you right where you are, I want to invite you to consider helping us keep career content. We have a lot of different career training products and resources. We've got ebooks, career training products, PDF downloads, audio trainings, all kinds of things. So if you want to check those out, I would really encourage you to visit our most important links page that has a lot of those resources put together in one place. Our most important links page, easiest way to get there is you can visit our website, www.pcast.com/most-important-links. Again, www.pcast.com/most-important-links, and there's a dash between each word. www.pcast.com/most-important-links. And now, let's get back to our show. All right, welcome back to this month's episode of the Work with Purpose podcast. This month, in our episode, we're talking about that there is good in your get-by job. And so far, we've talked through more about trying to compare what is a get-by job versus what is a more ideal career kind of job. What are some of the things that are similar, things that are different? And so far, I've talked with you about when it comes to a get-by job, the focus is more on trying to give you stability during more of a transition time in your life. It could be a lot of different things. Could be some type of crisis situation, some type of emergency, some type of, maybe saving for a larger kind of purchase or things like that. And then we said the ideal kind of career job, it might be something that you might need more specific education or training about usually. And usually more of the ideal kind of career job, you're really trying to, think more on what are your unique skills, your unique abilities, and your gifts on that, and just trying to use those specifically in that kind of work that you do. And then also, I would tell you that more of that ideal kind of career kind of job, you've got an intentional focus of trying to serve someone else using your unique skills and your abilities, and you're trying to resist more of that you-focused mindset, which is kind of just serving yourself, trying to, get ahead, do your own thing, look out for number one kind of idea. So both of those are kind of different. Just walked you through both of those. And now, as we kind of continue on with our episode this month, I wanted to share with you a couple of examples of some of my own get by jobs, give you some examples of those, and then also talk about what I think that they've taught me or what I've learned from them, at least up to this point. So I want to walk you through a couple of those. Okay, so you should be able to see this okay on my screen here. But the first get by job I wanted to put in front of you, and now some of these dates and times I'm a little bit rusty on, but I wanted to focus on putting the type of position in front of you and what it taught me. So the first get by job that I wanted to share with you about is many years ago. I did a 2-year Christian ministry, residency program at a large church in the more Midwest United States. And so part of that, I did a lot of different things. So I worked more extensively in more of a larger church setting, did a lot of different things. So grew, worked more in like a family, children ministry, worked more with, a Spanish, speaking, translation kind of ministry, did a lot of different things. The other thing I'll say too, personally, I grew a lot in my own leadership, my own, character kinds of things, more soft skill kinds of things. I grew a lot in my understanding of, leadership, self-leadership, team leadership, things like that. I found it to be a very, very, helpful, informative time. And, the other thing I'll say too is really from this 2-year ministry residency program, it really strengthened a lot of, my personal Christian faith and my connection to the local church. If you're new to this podcast, as a career coach, that is the lens that I look through, right? As I coach and help people, right? I am a Christian. That's the lens that I look through. I believe that any skill or ability that you and I have, we didn't come up with it. We didn't manufacture it. God has really designed us with those and invites us to really serve Him and for His glory and serve other people so that God would be given glory through the work that you and I do, right? And serving others with our skills and abilities. And this 2-year ministry residency program really helped strengthen my own kind of spiritual life and my Christian faith as well. I read a lot also from many, many different authors during that time, especially well-known authors, Patrick Lencioni and John Maxwell, very, very well-known folks in more of the business and leadership space. But in addition to that, I could give you so many other different, more Christian faith books that I read as well. There's a lot of different ones there, especially, A.W. Tozer and so many other ones that I can't even think of at this point. The 2-year ministry residency program, I would say, was really formative for me, especially in my career direction, because as I think about it now, I really, I think, came to a point of decision. In that ministry residency program, I thought for a long time in my life that my direction was really trying to serve and help people in a life in full-time Christian ministry, right, in the larger church setting. And I think what I had to come to learn, and God really helped me with this, continues to help me with it, is I really had to learn that I can serve and help others come to know Jesus and really try to use my unique abilities and God designed skills to do that. I can really do that anywhere. And I really had to come to learn that I didn't necessarily need to be inside the local church setting and kind of have that title and all those other things to do that. And so from that 2-year ministry residency time, it actually landed me in. I really believe the Lord brought me to a time of intentional just prayer and soul searching and really asking those deep questions. How Lord, how can I serve and help other people through the skills and abilities you've given me if it's not in the church setting? And that really started to help me, really grow in my own in my own faith more. And that started to help me, really lean into a lot of what you're seeing right now. A lot of this work into intentional career development, career training, really trying to serve and help people through that, and really trying to, in coaching and helping other people, try to work as their best self in the best possible way. Really trying to help others, come to understand that their skills and abilities are not their own, and really trying to do that. and really trying to help them see how have their skills been designed by God for them, right? Help them strengthen the faith aspect of their life as well. So that's one of my Get By jobs, kind of a 2-year ministry residency program. And then the other Get By job that I'll talk about right now, it's many times about that same time when I was doing that residency program, I also did more of a late night package delivery job where I worked for a very, very well-known mail service. And I worked a third shift job, scanning packages and putting them into kind of metal boxes, so that they could be delivered to the right place. The big thing I took away as I was prepping for this episode, I think what I learned from that position is, one, I got to experience a third shift job for the first time, and I really got to learn and understand that I did not want to work third shift anymore if I didn't have to. If you're listening or watching this and you work third shift, I think it takes a lot of unique things and planning and scheduling to work a third shift job. But I learned for me that I did not necessarily want to work a third shift job again if I had the ability to choose that. So that was a helpful Get By job. I think it definitely helped me learn more routine things. I was able to do a great job as a professional there, but I think one of the big takeaways I took from that package delivery job was that I knew as a professional, if I could choose it or had a choice in it, I did not want to work a third shift position anymore. Thanks so much for hanging with us on this month's episode. After the break, we're going to talk through one more Get By job, what I might have learned from it. And then beyond that, we're going to finish up this month's episode with a segment that we have called The Purposeful Point. So you don't want to miss it. So stick around. You're watching and connecting with the Work with Purpose podcast, and we'll be right back. Thanks so much for checking out this month's episode of the Work with Purpose podcast. We'll get back to our episode in just a moment, but real quick as we do that, I wanted to remind you that right now we are having a sale in our online shop. We're having a sale right now on all of our digital career training products in our online shop. So if you want to check those out, you can do that in a couple different steps. Number one, you want to visit our shop website, WWPCast.com/shop. You can click into our shop page, step 2. And then step 3, you find the item that you want to purchase or check out or download. And then on your checkout, you want to use the special promo code WWPSAVE15. Again, that's all caps, no spaces, WWPSAVE15. Again, right now we've got a special sale happening in our online shop. It goes right now and it ends July 1st, 2025. Easy way for you to get to our shop. Again, visit our podcast shop page, WWPcast.com/shop. Click through to our shop, find the item you want, step 3. And then step 4, when you find the item you want and you check out, use our special promo code, all caps, no spaces, WWPSAVE15. And then also, if you are checking us out on our podcast, and if you are finding everything that we're doing encouraging and helpful, I want to invite you to do 2 quick things. If you're finding this helpful, 2 quick things. Number 1, I want to invite you to subscribe to our podcast. You can find us on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@WWPcast. You can also find us in your favorite podcast app. We're in a lot of different podcast platforms. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Spotify, Overcast, so many other things there. And you can search for the Work with Purpose podcast. And I would invite you to, wherever you are connecting with our podcast, consider subscribing to our podcast, follow our podcast so that you don't miss our episode. And you also have the chance to go back through our different seasons and see kind of things that we've, shared with you before. So definitely check that out. I want to invite you to subscribe to our podcast. And also, if you are finding our podcast helpful and encouraging, meeting you right where you are in a practical way, I want to invite you to leave us a rating or review. You can do that in your favorite podcast app. Just search for the Work with Purpose podcast in your favorite podcast app and just follow the steps that they have to leave a rating or a review. When you do that, when you leave a rating or a review, it puts our podcast in front of new people who might not have heard of us before, and that allows our podcast to kind of keep growing, keep serving, keep helping people work as their best selves in the best possible way, really trying to serve others in the work that they do with their unique skills and abilities. So if you might be having trouble leaving a rating or a review, I want to invite you to visit our website, WWPcast.com/feedback. Again, WWPcast.com/feedback. We've got a couple easy kind of walkthroughs there that kind of help you, on leaving a review or a rating on some of the popular podcast platforms to kind of make that easy for you. Again, if you're finding our podcast episode helpful, I want to invite you to consider subscribing to our podcast and also consider leaving us a rating or a review. And now, let's get back to our show. Hi, and welcome back to this month's episode of the Work with Purpose podcast. This month, we're talking about all about that there is good in your get-by job. So far in this episode, I've talked you through kind of comparing a get-by job versus a more ideal kind of career job. And then earlier in this episode, we talked through some examples of my own get-by jobs and what I thought that they taught me. But as we kind of get closer to wrapping up this month's episode, I wanted to put another get-by job in front of you that I actually did and talk you through what I believe it taught me. And so one of my get-by jobs, I was doing this the same time as I was working full-time in a different position. But one of my get-by jobs was I actually delivered pizzas part-time at night for a very well-known pizza shop kind of company. And so the reason I did this pizza delivery job is pretty unique, and this is why I wanted to put it in front of you. So I took on this pizza delivery job because I was trying to save up for my my now wife's wedding band and wedding set. So it was part of saving for a larger purchase to kind of help with that. So worked probably 9 or 10 hours a week delivering pizzas at night, tracking the tips and all that other stuff. So it was something purposeful, something intentional. And it really served that purpose for me at that time. Was it an ideal position? Not really. It gave me more kind of tasks to do in the evening time after working my full-time position. And but I want to tell you that I found that get-by job was helpful because it allowed me to really meet that larger kind of savings goal of trying to save for a larger purchase. All right, so I hope you found that example helpful of these get-by jobs in this episode to really help encourage you to really think about your current job in a very purposeful, intentional way. And that's actually a really good segue because as we wrap up this month's episode, as we're doing this season in our podcast season, we're ending with a segment that we call the Purposeful Point. So let's check that out right now. This month's episode, the Purposeful Point. All right, so for this month's episode, if you're new to our episodes, new to our podcast, this segment, The Purposeful Point, really we try to end our episodes with one key idea, one key takeaway to try to help you leave this month's podcast episode with one kind of sentence or thought that you can kind of carry with you and keep thinking about between right now and the weeks until our next podcast episode. And that's what the Purposeful Point is all about. So for this month's episode of the Purposeful Point, you should be able to see this on my screen here. Let me have some things. Okay. So for this month's episode, for the Purposeful Point, you should be able to see this on our screen here. But the Purposeful Point, the one key takeaway, one idea for this month's episode, as we've talked about trying to help you see that there is good in your get-by job. I want to encourage you, but to really latch onto this idea to really understand that your get-by job, it can be purposeful, and that your get-by job, it is purposeful. I want to encourage you just and really think about some of these examples that I shared with you in this month's episode of my own get-by jobs and what they might have taught me back then and up to this point. I want to encourage you to do the same thing. Think about your own get-by jobs. If you've had those, if you are in one right now, really think on and understand that your get-by job, even though it might not be an ideal kind of position for you at this point, really understand that your get-by job, it is teaching you something. Your get-by job, it is teaching you something. And that in order to really help you understand that, you've really got to make that intentional choice to see your get-by job as something formative. Maybe it's allowing you to learn certain skills or certain abilities that you can use later on when you move into more of your ideal, more career kind of position. Just really choose to see it as formative and really understand that your get-by job, it is purposeful for you. It's just a matter of you thinking about it and choosing that kind of perspective. So with all that, that brings us to the end of this month's podcast episode. I want to say thank you so much for watching and engaging with our podcast episode. Hope you found this encouraging and helpful to you. Hope you found this episode meeting you right where you are, and to help you be encouraged and strengthen you on your career journey. Thanks so much for watching and for listening to our podcast episode. If you have found this helpful, I want to invite you between right now and even the weeks and such to our next podcast episode. If you have a career question, easy way that you can share those with me so that we can try to answer those. It might show up in a future podcast episode, might show up in another video on our podcast YouTube channel. The easiest way to ask your career questions is visit our website, WWPcast.com/ask. Again, WWPcast.com/ask. When you go there, it'll invite you to fill out our live career question form, and then you can fill in your information, put in your question, and then we'll work to answer that in a timely manner for you. So again, fill out our career question form, ask your career questions at WWPcast.com/ask. And then again, if you're finding this podcast helpful and you want us to keep doing what we're doing, really trying to serve and help and encourage people in the work that we do here, I want to invite you to help us keep making career content. You can visit our most important links page. That's an easy way for you to kind of see all of our career kind of resources, a few of them in one place. We've got career ebooks, audio programs, downloads, and things like that. You can visit our most important links by visiting our podcast website, www.pcast.com/most important links. And there's a dash between each word. So visit our most important links page by visiting www.pcast.com/most-important-links. All right, and so now that brings us to the end of this month's podcast episode. I want to say thank you so much for watching and for connecting with us on this month's episode. Hope you found it purposeful and helpful, meeting you right where you are. And as we wrap up this month's podcast episode, I want to say thank you so much for connecting with our podcast. And again, as we wrap up, I want to remind you of two quick things. So I'm Randy Mahoney Jr. You've been connecting with the Work with Purpose podcast. And as we wrap up today, number one, I want to remind you that you've been made with purpose. So work with purpose. And then number two is this: the best work that you can ever do is to serve and help someone else using your unique skills, and to do all that for the glory of Jesus Christ. See you next time.